We're going to continue where we left off yesterday. We're in Parashat Emor. We're reading out of the Zohar, page 88b. Yesterday, we talked about one thing explaining the verse of David HaMelech, but we finished the class by explaining a certain mitzvah that is called halanat hamet. When a person dies, we're not allowed to leave the body there without burial. On the contrary, the body has to be buried very, very quick. So we started talking about what happens when the person is about to die. The Zohar says 3 angels appear. These are 3 shlichim, and they subpoena the person to the Beit Din. Then comes Malach HaMavet, the angel of death, and Zohar says with a sword out. And what the Malach HaMavet does, that he, so to say, dismantles the 4 elements, and they break apart. So the same way that everything physical is built from 4 elements, air, water, earth, and fire, also everything spiritual is built from these elements. For some mystical reason that we will never figure out, these elements stand together. Now everything is built from the elements. Take now a piece of wood, a table. What is the dominating element in a piece of table? Came from wood. Is the element of afar, of earth. How do we know that? Burn the table. What are you going to get? You're going to get ashes. Which means that it has an element of fire in it because it can catch fire. It has the element of water in it because it will absorb water. It has to have the element of air. Everything has all 4 elements, but depending on the intensity. But the major element in the wood will be the element of afar. Now when you burn it, it goes back to its element. Can you imagine how it looks that the air and the water gets separated with the assistance of the element of fire, and it gets, so to say, dismantled? Malach HaMavet comes and he probably releases something, and all 4 elements, they break off. So that's why it says about the person when he dies, "Ve'me'afar bata la'afar tashuv." You came from the earth, you're going to go back to the earth. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Adam HaRishon, it says that he took sand from everywhere around the world, not from one place. Why? That anywhere you're going to bury the person, the land, the earth will absorb the element of afar. So if not, they wouldn't accept the body. So Adam HaRishon was built from all the sands from all over the world. So Malach HaMavet, the angel of death, comes and he turns the switch on or off, and all the elements get disattached from each other. The Zohar, yesterday what we learned, it's extremely painful and unpleasant for the soul. Great yesurim and hardship, and needless to say, not something that is so fun to go through. But we concluded by saying that when does the soul go out of the body? The second that it sees the Shekhinah. Once the soul sees the Shekhinah, that's it. It jumps out of the body. It cannot stay in the body anymore. That's why it says in the Torah, Lo ra'ani adam v'chai. A person cannot see the Kadosh Baruch Hu or the Shekhinah and still live. And that's when the soul leaves the body. That's very quickly what we said yesterday. But now we're going to continue, and it will kind of fit what we just left off in the previous class about the Gilgulim. But again, if you want to follow, we're on page 88b, Daf Peichet Amud Bet. The line starts with Batar de Nafka. Up until now, we're talking about when the soul is about to leave the body. Now the soul is already left the body. Batar de Nafka nafshe min gufe. After the soul went out of the body, ve'ishtar gufa belo rucha. Now you know what you have? You have a body laying on the floor, on the bed, or whatever it is, with no ruach, with no spirit in it. It's just a piece of meat. Asur lemishbakle belo kuvurata. You're not allowed to leave the body lying there without burial. Dichtiv, as it says. Where does it say that? In Parashat Ki Tetzeh, the book of Dvarim, chapter 21. Lo talin nivlato al ha'etz. You should not leave a dead corpse just thrown there. Ki, why? Ki kavor tikverenu bayom ha'u. You must bury him the same day. And he explains, begin the meta, the yishtahei. If the body is going to be staying there, kaf daled shot, 24 hours, de'inun yomam velayla, which will pass on it a whole day and a whole night, bela kveruta, without any burial, Yahiv chalishuta b'shayfoi dirticha. It will cause a very strong weakness I don't know if you can grammatically say strong weakness, but it will cause a very powerful weakness, specifically in what's called the Merkava Elyona, in the supreme chariot of the world above. Now, definitely don't have time to explain about the Merkava. Some of you maybe sounds familiar, and we are referring to the Merkava, Maaseh Merkava, what Yechezkel saw. But nevertheless, the Merkava is the chariot, so to say, that the chariot's glory is gliding over. The Spirit of Hashem is hovering over the water. That's what it says in the Torah right when we start. When a dead body is not buried in this world, it's causing weakness in the supreme chariot. Why? What's the connection? Because the man, here it's using a very interesting term, Adam Tachton. If he says Adam Tachton, means there's Adam Elyon. Adam is a human. Tachton means lower. We are the Adam Tachton. But there's also Adam Elyon. There's an Adam up there. Nevertheless, the Adam Tachton, the lower level human, is hinting to the Merkava. Because if you do what the Torah tells you, you become a Merkava. Avraham Avinu was a Merkava to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Merkava means a chariot or a wagon. David HaMelech was a Merkava. He annulled himself. He became annulled to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Kadosh Baruch Hu can dress in him and operate through him. Moshe Rabbeinu was Merkava and so forth. כי כמו שיש אחיזת החיצונים למטה, yesterday we explained that the negative forces, or we translated it a little bit different. I never found any place a good translation to chitzoniim. Some will call it outer forces, or some will call it the outer part of purity. Nevertheless, this is not 100% necessarily a klipa. Something that is external to kedusha, something that is coming from the outside to oppose kedusha. Any type of death, the chitzonim has a chiza on it. And the chitzonim, again, will now call it the evil forces. Something that has the definition that is called mavet, death, the chitzonim always will have a chiza. So the second that there's a dead corpse, then these evil forces can have control over. Achiza means that they grasp it and they control it. If chas v'shalom, they grab on a dead corpse, then we give them an opening in the world above. Which means that now we're opening, so to say, a gap that in the world above, these forces of impurity can attach to Kedusha. So this is very, very dangerous. Chas v'shalom, he adds. Ve'otam, there's another reason. This is one reason out of many. Where the reason we're asking is why we're not allowed to leave a body thrown there. It was called halanat hamet. The second reason, u'me'akev avinta dekudja brichu lem'abad. Wait a minute. If I don't bury a body right away, you know what I do? I delay God from doing his job. And I delay Hashem. I don't have control. I have control over Hashem. What is this job that the Kadosh Baruch Hu needs to do? De'efshar kutchabrichu gazara lebegin lemeta begilgul achara. Could be that the Kadosh Baruch Hu already made a decree that this nefesh, this soul, you know what happens? Right away jumps into another body. Right away. No waiting. No, it's protection. Right? Right away goes into another body. שתבוא בגלגול אחר. מיד בהוא יום דהתפטר, לאותיו עלה. Right in the same day, the person dies, and whoop, jumps into another body. Why? כדי להטיב עם האדם לתקן נפשו בגלגול. To be kind and to להטיב, to do good to that person, to right away fix the body, or fix the soul in a גלגול. וכל זימנה דלה יתקבר גופה, and as long as the body is not buried, נשמעת עליו עלת, כמה קודשא בריחו. The soul cannot come in front of Hashem, and needless to say, cannot be placed in a new body. נשמעת לאו עלת כמה קודשא בריחו, the neshama cannot come in front of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, ולה יחלה למאה ובגופה אחרה, and it can't go into a new body, בגלגולה דתניא. Teniyana. It can go into another gilgul, a second body. So let's go one step back. Nishmat alav alat kamei kudsha b'richu. The soul cannot come in front of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. V'la yachla lemehe v'beguf acharan. It can't come into another body. Begilgula teninaya. In a second gilgul. Dela yahavin nishmat agufa achara. The neshama cannot get a new body ad itkaber kadama. Till the last one will be buried. So the soul cannot get a new body till the last one was buried. Now I'm going to do a short break to tell you something very, very interesting. Hopefully it's not going to take too much from the class. My grandmother was a very unique individual, Holocaust survivor that went through a very, very hard life, died when she was 92 years old from cancer, and she had two qualities that if we would have them, even in a small portion, life would be very, very special. She was constantly thankful to Hashem and constantly besimcha, constantly happy. Now, she wasn't such an observant individual, bear in mind, but constantly thanking Hashem. She was not so observant, but nevertheless, constantly thanking Hashem. Chas v'shalom, not acknowledging Hashem. Okay, when she was 86 years old, she was diagnosed with cancer. They told her, you have 3 months to live. If we do chemo, you'll maybe have 6 months. She told them, listen, you're not putting me in a toaster oven. It's okay. She ended up living another 6 years. Why? Because she was happy all day long. She was thanking the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and she was happy. Okay, a little pain here, a little bit of pain there, but simcha. Anyways, before she died, she wanted to see me. So she sent me a ticket to come and visit her. I lived in New York, she lived in Australia. I come and visit her, we had a beautiful time, very, very special individual. Long story short, the day that I came back from Australia, my wife got pregnant with my 5th daughter. And normally we don't tell anyone that my wife is pregnant until it shows. And sometimes, it shows, that's it, you can see it. But other than that, we don't tell anybody. My sisters always get upset at me. I called them like a week before my wife gives birth. Oh, by the way, we're going to have a baby. What? So I knew my grandmother might not have much time to live. I told her, by the way, Dvorah is pregnant. So she tells me, listen, if you have a girl, I'm not putting any pressure, but by the way, my name is Rachel. I said, really? I didn't notice that your name is Rachel. I mean, it's a very big surprise that you're telling me your name right now. Nevertheless, she was like, if you have a daughter, and I was like, okay. My wife is pregnant with my 5th daughter. My mom came to be at the birth, and unfortunately, that's when my grandmother died. Hashem decided that's when she's going to leave. My mom flies to Australia, and the day after my mom arrives, my grandmother dies. And what's called Beseva Tova. 92 years old, great grandkids, went through life, Baruch Hashem. My mom sat Shiva. The day my mom got up from Shiva was Friday. During Shabbat, my wife goes into labor. So I tell my wife, listen, if you can, keep it inside, because tonight is a very good date. That night was Lag BaOmer, right? The Hilula of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So my poor wife, try and keep it in. I tell her, listen, you only have 10 hours. Keep it in. We get a good birthday. Breathe. Just keep it in. Okay, so the whole Shabbat, we're home. Baruch Hashem, my wife, she doesn't like going to hospitals. She has home births. Okay, so we're in the home. The doula's there, everybody. And I'm like, we have 3 hours. Just keep it in there. Keep your legs closed. Do whatever you need to do. Just don't let it out. Okay, now the problem was that it was Lag BaOmer that night. So I was booked for a lecture 3 months prior to that. And I told the person who booked me to the lecture, listen, my wife is due around that time, so I might have to cancel the lecture. No problem, we'll get a backup speaker, and if you can't make it, we understand. Comes Motzei Shabbat, Baruch Hashem, I'm ready, that's it, we have a Lag BaOmer baby. And I tell my wife, what should I do? Should I go to the lecture? And she's, we say in Hebrew, Zoremet. Yeah, of course you have to. You have to. Well, we're going to inspire there a few hundred people. Of course you have to go to the lecture. So I'm like, oh, okay. My wife told me to go. I'm going to go. So it didn't feel 100% right. So I called my rabbi and I told him, listen, I'm in a little bit of a bind. my wife is about to give a birth, but I have a very big lecture booked, and it's a big event. It's like Ba'omer. He says, "Man, you out of your mind? Your wife is giving labor, and you're going to a lecture. You stay home with your wife." Okay. We have a custom that when the wife is in labor, the husband reads Tehillim. You're not in the room with the wife. This is in the movies. The husband should be outside. Let him read Tehillim. Let the wife do her thing. Okay, so my wife gives birth in our home. So she's in our bedroom, and I had like a little den right next to the room. So my rabbi tells me, "Listen, it's like Ba'omer. Instead of reading Tehillim, why don't you learn Zohar?" Okay, I go to the bookshelf without looking at which volume, and I pull out a book, and I open it up, and what does it say? And I start reading that the Kadosh Baruch Hu sometimes loves the neshama so much, he doesn't let the neshama through go to a Beit Din, through go chibut hakever. He doesn't let the neshama do it. He takes it from here and puts it right away in here. And the second that I read all this, hear a little wah from the next room. Sure enough, was a beautiful baby girl, and some of you know her. She is carbon copy my grandmother. She is my grandmother who came in right away. Kadosh Baruch Hu was so in love with his soul because she was always so grateful. She lost all her family in the Holocaust. She lost her husband when she was a young kid, a young girl. She got married very, very young, and her husband died. Right after that, left her with 2 kids. A year later, her father dies. A year later, her mother dies. I mean, she went through a very hard life, but always with a smile and always grateful. And I was like, look at that. Kadosh Baruch Hu sometimes has such mercy on the neshama. He takes the neshama from one body and whoop, puts it into another body right now. Can you imagine how much pain, suffering it saves? And where? In a very comfortable environment, in a home that keeps Shabbat, never desecrates Shabbat from day one, always eats kosher, in a school that she's separated from boys. This is when the Kadosh Baruch Hu does chesed with the neshama, that the neshama is, the soul is guarded in a good place. And you know, my wife and me, we used to Skype with my grandmother, and she would look at us, and my wife would tell me, look how she's looking at us, like as if she wants us to be her parents. And she was so proud. I'm like the only grandkid that is observant. She came all the way from Australia to my wedding to New York. She was like, I'm not missing this for my life. And if you know my daughter, some of you do, she is my grandmother. It's unbelievable. The facial expressions even. She goes like this. If you know her, she has something with her eye on the lip. That's my grandmother. The hair even. The silky hair. She is carbon copy my grandmother. In the beginning, my mother was in denial, but at some point, it was like, yeah, no, she looks like, she stands her, she sits, everything. This is my grandmother. Everything. That's unbelievable. And I was like, look at this. Yeah. That's why she's called the beautiful Rachel, Shena Rachel. So that's her name. So there's a long story how she got the name. Of course, she got the Rachel. But nevertheless, I mean, my grandmother was a gorgeous woman. And she used to live in Berlin. She has pictures that photographers she used to model. Even then there was modeling. Anyway, so we called her the beautiful Rachel. That's the title that she would want to have. But nevertheless, the story goes on, but why am I saying all this? Because sometimes the neshama, the Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want the soul to go through judgment or to go through suffering, but it cannot go from one body to another before the first body is taken care of. And it was, for me, I was like, look at this. During the time of the Shiva, the soul is next to the body, it doesn't leave the body. That's why 7 days, the Zohar says, 7 days, the soul goes backwards and forth. During the day, it's in the house where everybody's sitting Shiva. At night, it goes to the cemetery, sits on the grave. If you would have some type of night vision to see, the soul is sitting on the grave. It doesn't want to move. It's next to the body. And that's why we don't go to the cemetery. We only go on the 7th day, on the 30th day, and after the year. Because the soul is sitting on the grave. Nevertheless, so what do we learn from here? One of the reasons why do we not leave a dead corpse unburied? Because sometimes, and we don't know that, could be that the soul is destined, or there's a decree from the Kadosh Baruch Hu, take the soul and right away put it in a body so it can finish its gilgul, so it can finish its rectification. That's why I always like giving the example with my grandmother, because I'm not saying it chas v'shalom to speak lashon hara about her, but she wasn't 100% observant. I mean, she would light candles on Shabbat, she would eat kosher, but she wasn't 100% observant. So Hashem says, listen, I'm going to take such a sweet soul, I'm going to make it suffer. Let me put it right away in a body of a child that grows in an observant house. From day one, she eats kosher. From day one, she observes Shabbat. Never such a thing that she wore pants or whatever. She's in Hebrew we call it chamama, like how do you call the hot house? It's protected, right? So the Kadosh Baruch Hu takes care of the soul. And this is a perfect example that the body, the first body, has to be buried, taken care of. Then the Kadosh Baruch Hu takes the neshama and places it in another body. This is another example that the Zohar is talking about. Why not to leave the dead corpse unburied? Third one. There's another reason. There's another two. But nevertheless, another one. Davar acher. Kad itparsha nishmata min gufa. When the soul gets pulled out of the body. If you understand a little bit the Aramaic, it uses very beautiful language. It says itparsha. In Hebrew, it means lifrosh. I retire. I quit. The soul is prushama neshama. You know what it is? How suffering for the soul to be in the body? In Hebrew, when somebody dies, we don't say mavet or met. We say niftar. Why niftar? Niftar ma'olam. When somebody quits his job, ani mitpater. Baruch shpetarano. A man has a bar mitzvah son, he goes up to the Torah. Baruch shpetarano ma'onesh. Thank you for getting rid of this headache. So, when a person leaves, niftar min ha'olam. He gets rid of this world. You know what a headache is this world? So here it says, kad itparsha nishmata. When the neshama leaves the body, gets rid of the body, min gufa, uvaya lemeza lehu alma. Now it wants to go to the world above. It missed everybody up there. You know, we're sad when we see somebody go. You know how happy the soul is? It's going to meet its parents, its grandparents, its friends. I mean everybody. What do you think? They disappear? They go to a different dimension? They're all there. Everybody, all your loved ones. He wants to go to Olam Elyon. I want to go home to my father, to Abba, Avinu Shebashamayim. This no wants to go up. La te'ul lehu alma. It cannot go to this world above. Ad de yahavin la gufa achara min hora. The soul needs always a body. Now, in this world, it gets a physical body. In the world above, it needs another body. And this body is called nehora, a body of light. Ulvatar yachla lemeal. Once it gets a new body in the world above, then it can go into the world above. It's almost like your passport. You can't travel without a passport, unless you are Alon Anava. If you are Alon Anava, you can travel without a passport. I probably broke the world record of traveling without a passport. Unheard of. But nevertheless, if you don't know the story, I'll send you the reference of the video. One of my last trips when I was stuck in America, I forgot my passport on the connection flight, and now I have to go on a flight. I don't have a passport. Normally, you know what they would tell you? Go to the embassy, get yourself a new passport. Somehow, miraculously, Mr. Anava just walks on a flight, a flight, without a passport, with my daughter. When I landed in Israel, they're like, where's your passport? I don't have one. What do you mean you don't have one? How did they let you on the plane? Well, I don't know. You know how it was. I went there to the dalpak, how do you call it, to the counter, and the girls like this, you know, they always tick a lot, like as if they're writing a novel there. My name has 9 letters. Anyways, I come there and I tell her, listen, maybe you can help me. I have a problem. And she's not even looking at me. She just tells me, what's your name? I tell her, Alon Anava. Rabbi Anava? In the middle of nowhere, in Boston. Rabbi Anava? And I'm like, yeah. Oh, I love your classes. I watch all your classes. I'm like, good. Now you know me. Get me on the flight. So, anyway, it's a funny story. I have a whole video of the entire thing. But when we travel, we need a passport. You can't go anywhere without a passport. So, the soul needs a passport to go from one world to another world. In this world, the soul is contained in a body. It's not so happy about it, but it's in a body. Then when the soul leaves the body, now it's like no body. What does it do? So it needs to be placed into another body. This body is not a physical body, of course. And this is, by the way, I know some of you might have the question, because we did speak about it in previous classes, about a certain term that the Zohar is calling Chalukah de Rabbanan. Chalukah means like a garment or a coat. The Rabbanan is of the body, of the human. The soul gets dressed in a certain coat, in a certain garment. What is this garment? Is all the mitzvot that we do. This is called Chalukah de Rabbanan. That's a whole different thing, what the Zohar is talking about. Here it's talking about when the soul leaves the body, it has to be contained somewhere. So it needs a body. Here it's given a spiritual body. What is this? Guf acher shel or. It's a light, and again, not a light from a light bulb. It's called a body of light, that the soul can be contained somewhere. Ume'aliyahu tinda. And how do we know about this spiritual body that the soul has? Where do we get that from? Me'eliyahu tinda. We know it from Eliyahu Navi. Why? The havoletrein gufin. We know that Eliyahu Navi has two bodies. He has the body in this world where he comes down, he needs a body. And he has a body in the world above. I mean, how many souls like Eliyahu Navi that go up and down there without a passport whenever he wants? He's like a diplomat. He just goes in, out, up, and down. So, where do we learn that? Eliyahu Navi has two bodies. One body is in this world in order so he can reveal himself in front of human beings. If not, how would you see Eliyahu Navi? You know how many times you probably saw Eliyahu Navi in your life? But one time he was wearing beggar's clothes. One time he was wearing the homeless clothes. One time he was wearing whatever clothes, a police officer. You were cursing the police officer, but the police officer pulled you over because a kilometer down the line was a chain accident and you were saved. So you cursing the officer, but he actually pulled you. That was also Eliyahu Navi. So what do we say on Motzei Shabbat when we do Havdalah? Ashrei mi shera'a oto. Happy is the one who saw him, v'hichzir lo shalom, that you actually recognize him. This was Eliyahu Navi. How many times somebody appears out of nowhere and then disappears, and like, whoa, where did this guy go? Must be Eliyahu Navi. I'll tell you a quick story. This will be a class of stories. Then we'll finish this paragraph. Many, many years ago,
he have multiple bodies because he could be in more than one place at a time.
One might think that Eliyahu Navi has many bodies, but really his body is like, I don't have the right term in English, but their body can reshape to however he wants. But nevertheless, he needs a body here. This body, he can change the look whenever he wants, and he can teleport himself, no problem. But nevertheless, there's one physical body in the world and one spiritual body in the world above. Quickly to tell you a quick story. About 14, 15 years ago, after I got married, then I learned in Kollel for a few years. And then at some point, we had to pay bills. I mean, I started having kids. So we didn't know what to do. So we decided, one of my trades was photography. So we opened a business for photography. Okay. Which would end up being a very, very good business, very profitable. But more than that, I would do mainly weddings. I would do 2 weddings a month, 3 weddings a month, and it allowed me for 7 years to sit in the yeshiva and learn Torah. One time, I don't know if you've ever been to weddings, sometimes it's very crowded throughout the dancing, so the photographer stands on a ladder and takes pictures from above. So I was standing on the ladder, taking my shots. A bunch of drunk young men threw me off my ladder. And I went diving down. An instinct of a photographer is to save the camera, $15,000. So I landed on my hand, and I broke my hand. Okay, 2 fractures in my wrist. I couldn't figure out, what is Hashem trying to tell me? I'm going to do a parnasa. I'm honest. I'm not trying to cheat. I'm trying to honestly make a living. I couldn't figure out, what is Hashem trying to teach me? Why do I have to break my hand? Now I'm in pain. It was summer, sweating, and I couldn't do any work. Couldn't figure it out. At the time I lived in New York, and I decided to go to the grave of the Lubavitcher Rebbe to pray over there, ask for some miraculous sign from the world above. Okay, I go there, pour my heart, I pray to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and I go out. I don't know if you've ever been to New York, to the area. It's a very small place. It's not like a Meron, that it's spread out on 5 acres. It's a very small place, a little house, and a small place outside where people write their notes, and then you go into the graveyard. I walk out, wash my hands, I get the yummy cookies that they have there, and this is the place is famous for the yummy cookies. Some kedusha, there's some holiness in the cookies there, so the cookies are real good there. And anyways, then this guy comes to me out of nowhere. Hey, how are you? He hugs me. I'm like, who is this guy? I don't even know who this guy is. And he's hugging me. How are you? How are you doing? It's good to see you. In my mind, I'm like, who is this guy? He's asking me, how's my wife? How's the daughter? And after 3 minutes that he's greeting me and asking me, he's looking at my hand. What happened? I told him I broke my hand. He's like, why? I told him because of gravity. Because I was up and I fell down. So he tells me, no. A real chassid goes from below to above, not from above to below. And then he turns around and disappears. Now it took me 2-3 seconds to grasp what he's telling me. Then I'm like, instead of going from above to below, I have to go from below to above? I like the chidush. And I look at him and he disappeared. Now this is a very small place. It's just like a little room and a courtyard. And I'm like, where is this guy? And I walk around, in, up, down, in. The guy disappeared, vanished. And I was looking at that. Rabbi Alon Anava just came to give me an answer. And I got my answer in one sentence. Because I was trying to understand why the Kadosh Baruch Hu is now punishing me. Kadosh Baruch Hu is not punishing me. Kadosh Baruch Hu just wants to open my eyes. So Rabbi Alon Anava comes in many different ways to open your eyes, to see something. And you know what? This one sentence, at the time, once I'll explain more in depth why it was so profound. But I was like, look at that. Your motion has to be, I'm going from below to above, not from above to below. And if you fall in this world, it's for you to go from above to below. And why? So you can go from below to above. Anyways, long story short, Rabbi Alon Anava knows how to appear in situation, and whoop, and then it disappears. And where's this person? I'm telling you, the guy disappeared within 3 seconds, and it's not a big place that he disappeared into a crowd of 1,000 people. There was maybe 3 people there, and the room is a little room and a little courtyard. And I went in and out and in and out and all around. The guy disappeared. So Rabbi Alon Anava appears to you many, many times. You have to be very quick to figure out, wait a minute, Rabbi Alon Anava just talked to me. So Rabbi Alon Anava has a body in this world. He's kind of like Superman, so he can change the form of the body whenever he wants. So he looks however he wants, whenever he wants, as many times as he wants. But he also has a body in the world above. That's where we learned that has to be a body in the world above. How do you think somebody appears to you in the dream? Sometimes people, they dream of their relative that passed away. How do they appear? Because there's a body in the world above. And needless to say, this is more complex. Why you can see somebody who left the world in the shape how they was, because the shape of the nefesh, the nefesh is the mold of the body. The body gets its shape because of the nefesh, by the way. So the nefesh will stay there. This is what's called the chaya sheba nefesh, the tselem, the shape and the figure that it stays in the nefesh. And then when you're sleeping and when you're dreaming, it's not a dream. You're in a different dimension. You're able to see this individual just in a spiritual way. Nevertheless, I have a class online about dreams where I explain more deep how you're able to see other people in dreams. And what does it mean? Because really when I meet somebody in a dream, alive or dead, it means that the souls are interacting at that moment in the world above. So if you dream on me, for example, then in that moment, you and me, in that moment, the souls are kind of playing ping pong in the world above. They're interacting. And ping pong, I'm saying like they're interacting with each other. So you dream of that person in this world. Anyways, back to our topic so we can finish. So we know, where do we know that we have a body in the world above? Me'eliyahu tindam. We always because of Eliyahu. Dehavo letren gufin. He has 2 bodies. One body in this world so he can appear to people in the world below. And one body is in the world above where he can appear to exalted angels and great safim, ofanim, great exalted angel, holy angels. Therefore, we're not allowed to leave a dead corpse in this world for more than a few hours. He said before, 24 hours, that's already the max, because it passed 12 hours in the day, 12 hours in the night. Till the body is not buried in the world below, the soul cannot be dressed in a spiritual body in the world above, and to go up and ascend. Now what happens is that the soul is very vulnerable. Nobody in the world below, nobody in the world above. The soul is subject to any attack of any evil force, any angel, any demon, any spirit, and they come after the soul. And it's vulnerable. Can you imagine the fear and the anxiety the soul experiences when it doesn't have a body? So this is another reason why we're not allowed to leave a body unburied. As Hashem, tomorrow we'll go through another reason and then see how it's connected to our parasha. I mean, we started the parasha about the Kohanim. We kind of sidetracked, but nevertheless, this is valuable information, so we know a little bit what's waiting for us. Needless to say, that one needs to understand how to take care of the physical and the spiritual body. So when the person dies, it's not a shock, it doesn't go through suffering. And needless to say, many times, unfortunately, lo aleinu, we have a relative that dies. This is not the time to wait, like I said yesterday, for Uncle Louis to come from, I don't know where, from Kansas, a 3-day flight, and then the body's in the fridge for 3 days. You don't do that. You bury the body right away. Needless to say, now is not the time to explain, but the importance of how the body needs to be buried the right way. If you have the opportunity to save a person from being buried the wrong way, this is a very, very big mitzvah. Unfortunately, in our generation, people cremate themselves. I mean, they're asked to be cremated. They're asked to be all sorts of weird things. And it's a huge mitzvah if you know when the person is about to be buried not the right way, to get involved and to do whatever you can that the person should be buried the right way. I have another interesting story now. We ran out of time. Maybe if you want to remind me tomorrow about the person from California that died, that we had to bury him. This is an unbelievable story, how it got to us to do it. But you see what it means to mamash to be buried the right way, and Shem Erachem, what we had to go through, how much money it cost, and we had to bury somebody. It was mamash going against time. And Baruch Hashem, we were able to bury the individual, and it was a huge, huge mitzvah to be able to save the body of this wonderful Jew that made tshuva when he was 86 years old in his life. Right before he died, he did tshuva. Very, very powerful story, and Baruch Hashem, I had the great merit to be involved in it, in this great mitzvah. But we'll continue and go more in depth tomorrow and the next day. Be'ezrat Hashem. Till then, and have a beautiful rest of the evening. Rabbi Hanania ben Akashya אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל לפיכך הרבה להם תורה ומצוות שנאמר, אדוני חפץ למען צדקו, יקדים תורה ויאדיר.